Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to what we hope is the first of many meetings with executive and staff. Introduce yourself to everyone. I'm sure everyone knows who you are, but thank you guys. So we kind of got this call about was projects that we have been working on.
Yep.
I will screen so that everybody. So, Cash, if you want to start with our you done some of these we have fixed on.
Yes. Start with the about 6 months ago. To capture the representing the significant issues of significant concern. So it's a quick paper.
We'll just skip that.
So I was saying the document, the intent was to capture the issues of significant concern and to summarize the status. It is, for those of you who are looking for that document, it is up on the county website. So maybe in this meeting we can go through that issue, which I think is still pretty much the set of issues we're working on. Maybe there's a couple of additional ones that we can talk about from the forward basis. Yeah. Some of those issues have made progress, and then and talk about those, and then there are others that probably still need attention.
Yes.
Right?
Excuse me, Prakash, we can't hear you online. The audio is very poor. I don't know if you're able to fix it, but we could, it's barely audible.
Yeah, I'll move out.
Because I think that's where the mic.
Yeah.
I think she just fixed the thing.
Okay.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, thank you. I'd sent that chat to Ellie.
Thank you.
Great. So we'll just go through the list of issues here listed in the document. The first one is stormwater drainage. So Brian, do you want to start off? And then so we have staff members.
Yeah, hi, I'm Brian Hunter, I'm a member of the committee. The county staff are to be commended for spearheading this effort. I am a committee member contact as I was the stormwater runoff plan for the state of Hawaii from Department of Health from 2003 to 2013. And I'm familiar with all of the overarching federal and state principles. To date, I have reviewed and commented on the scope of services provided by the consultant, and I went over those comments with Public Works last week. I'm looking forward to continuing this process of collaboration. And at this point, it's pre-contract, but we're looking at basically the scope of services for getting a drainage master plan for the point, which is very important. That's it.
Yeah,
So I think Brian summarized it pretty well. We're moving forward on this project. We'll be sending the draft back to the consultants. We haven't already. It's on its way, and we'll be getting a schedule. Typically, these things take between 12 and 18 months, just because there's a lot of steps to it. And there'll be public process also involved, so you'll have an opportunity to kind of see what our findings are. One of the things we typically do is have a request that people come out to a public meeting to hear about the project, and also identify areas that they're aware of that are project. And we usually have some maps out, and that helps our consultant have a pretty good idea of what the community's concerns are, as well as, they'll do some modeling to verify, some of the other constraints we might have that we, can't see visually. So, but that does take a little bit of time. It's well worth it, because once it's done, you've got a good document that you can use for your.
I was gonna just add to that, that the $380,000 is not enough. They were just to get the study possible options or pathways that how we will actually accomplish that. And the whole Point Roberts is shoreline place. So that adds another added layer to it. As if we were doing in, say, in rural Linden or other place, that would be totally different way to deal with that. So that adds more complexity, because we may not even be involved, state gets involved, right? And, or federal government may get involved. We don't know, but I'm just wanting you to know that. But definitely, once we have this, report from the consultant, we will reach out to the state and of course county council to find that money, because we need to know how much money is needed for comprehensive drainage plan for whole Point Roberts. So just so that you know the lay of the land is. So that money could be $2 million. And this money is just to get the work started and get this plan ready. So that, because that's the only way we can apply for money once we have a plan. Yep. Ryan, you want to add anything more to that?
No, I think it's important. I appreciate that you point out the obvious, that money is the bottom line for just about everything that is done by government.
But I think that myself and the county council felt this is important.
Good to hear.
And that's why this money and Public Works, of course, felt that should be brought to the council as one of the projects to be started. And we have done that. And so it shows our early commitment that this is needed. So I just wanted you to know that we do feel that it's important. And, if Point Roberts was to be actively developed, it would be a different story, because we believe that my 10 years coming in this community have been, we want to be a small community. We don't want to be Hong Kong, put it this way, because this place is very important, and you guys have got special attention throughout the United States and in Canada. There is a Point Roberts, and it's so unique, right? But at the same time, keeping the character of this place is important. Doesn't need to be looked at only as a place to make money. Because to getting monies and all this stormwater and all this, there will be a lot of people who would like to throw money at us. That's not where we are going with that. We still want to preserve the community. We still want to preserve the character of Point Roberts. At the same time, get required resources from the state and the county government to do that work. Okay, thank you.
But should we move to the next one?
Yes.
So next one was broadband. So I think this is one of the needs of the community that was front and foremost, especially during the pandemic, when we couldn't access physically access resources outside of the point very easily. Thanks, Executive, for your support on this, and I think we were all really happy to see the press release from Whatcom PUD last month, talking about the grant from Washington State. So in our upcoming June regular PRCAC meeting, Andrew and Chris
from what community are supposed to attend and share more, but if you would like to
Yeah.
share some background and context and what the
Yeah.
community can expect, that'd be great.
So this, I always felt that, that broadband has become such a necessity. It's just like having a running water in your house. It's that important. Initial years of internet was a kind of luxury. Oh, I have that. But now it's a necessity. Yeah, it's many of the daily life things are dependent on having a high-speed internet. That's what I promised in 2019, that I'll work on it, and I did start. And of course, pandemic came and the floods came in North County, took a lot of my attention away. But we have been consistently working on it, and the project Bob is online today. Bob Hillman, a resident here, and he came up with a proposal to do a wireless internet. It may not be the best or the fastest, but it was good to have in the community so that there are no haves and have-nots, and it would have internet available to almost everybody on this Point Roberts. There were some hurdles as to the money. We thought we can put EDI money, that Economic Development Initiative money, for that. Sharon Shoemake in 2021 session got $250,000 for this. And we said that we will put the other $350,000 to $600,000 has been the budget to do a wireless internet. At the same time, the county and the state has been pushing for hard fiber to the house. Means everybody gets a hard fiber line to every home. That is the best choice, that is the fastest, that is long lasting. It's very expensive. Cost can be $10,000 per home. And in some places could be more. Point Roberts being 2 mile by 2 mile, it's kind of, still you have so many gaps, and you can see that when one house to the other house is half a mile away, it becomes very expensive. But when we put it over the whole community, I think we can balance that. So with that in mind, when the state came up with this state broadband grants, which came during COVID, it highlighted to the state and to the federal government that, oh, we are missing internet in many communities. And so we got the grant, we knew about this program, and so as a county executive, we felt that this is not a job county administration should do. We gave it to the Port of Bellingham, have been the broadband arm of the county, doing for whole county. And then PUD came in, and PUD wanted to be, because that's a public utility district, they want to become a retailer of this, because we are the wholesalers, or Port wanted to do, just put the fiber in on the street and then find somebody else that you connect from the corner of the street to the house, and you become the ISP, Internet Service Provider. And you can collect the money, you can pay us for the main trunk line for our investment, very little money, but that's all, but you maintain all the things to the customer and service. So we were working through that, and then we applied for the grant for Point Roberts. First, I think there are some new people here. I just wanted to bring you out why it took so long. First, Vidvitel came to us in 2018 or 19, and we signed a letter in their favor. They got the $2 million grant, and then they said, we won't start until 2026. Because they got grant, Point Roberts was one of the sites, because Vidvitel is at several places, coastal areas. So their application was termed as the reasonable application. They got the grant, but Point Roberts was one of them. So they said, we don't have a priority because when private enterprise, their main thing is how I can get return on my investment, quicker, faster, bigger. Right? And they didn't feel that Point Roberts was the place to do that. So they said, we're gonna delay it. So they asked second time for us to sign a letter of support, and we refused. We said, no, we did it once until you serve, everybody wants lucrative market, not the other one. Right? We said, no, that's not fair, so we're not gonna, we're gonna write our own records. So that's what we did, went ahead through PUD, we write a grant only for Point Roberts. So this money cannot be used anywhere else. We got $3.5 million, and we have $350,000, which we committed, because to support the grant, we have to put in 10% money before we even make the application. So we, as a county, put that $350,000 in, because we wanted the application to be successful. So now, we have almost $4 million available for Point. There's that $250,000 which Sharon got in 2021 is not available anymore.
I think it was repackaged and
Repackaged into this thing,
Right.
because we were hoping that we can keep that and get extra money. I think when they gave us the grant, they said, okay, they extinguished that $250,000 from 2021 and mixed into this $3.5 million.
3.15 is the.
Yeah.
3.15
is the WSPO grant,
Okay,
and then matched with the county.
so totally 350. Okay. Well, we believe it's sufficient amount. But the only thing is that the plan which Bob gave us was that in 3 to 6 months, it can be lighted up and everybody can have internet. This plan may take 2 years or more. That is the difference. Right? And you will hear more from the PUD. They're gonna come here and be in the meeting and talk about it. But we are very pleased that this need is being met and something is getting done. There are existing fiber runs in Point Roberts. So they will augment that and try to do. So I don't know what their plan is. So PUD will come and tell you more detail. So that's all I had update. If you have any questions or anything about it, yes. Yes.
How does that dovetail with what Whitby's doing now? Because Whitby's laying cable now.
I think they have studied that and I'm not totally knowledgeable, but this is something, if they come in here and they stop here, they can put their wire, never connect to each other. They can put their wire right next to it and keep going.
So what you're saying is that you're gonna come back, the
No.
is gonna come back and re-dig up the roads and lay their own cable?
If Vidvitel wants to do that. So first the PUD will put their lines. Let me ask that question, gentleman has, yes, please, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna answer because I've been in a conversation with Watford and PUD, and it's totally separate from, they tell me it's totally separate from what Wichita is doing.
Yes.
So we're gonna have two internet lines running past people's houses.
It could be, because they're not gonna interface with, Wichita, that's what they told me.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that a duplication of the news?
Now, how they decide that they may leave areas where there's a service already available and call it lower priority, because some people will have 2 options, other people have 0 options. That's not fair. At least everybody should have at least 1 option. To me, that's the best use of money, right? Rather than duplicating a line. Now,
Louise, my understanding is it's to serve the areas that Would-Be-Tell is not going to be serving anytime in the near future.
yeah,
So those areas in which Would-Be-Tell says, well, this one would be done in 25 or 26, if we get grant money, those are the areas that the PUD is going to cover with this grant so that everybody can have internet. So,
then who's gonna be the internet service provider for those people?
That's gonna be open to, they'll just invite whoever wants to propose. And it'll be competitive, it'll be competitive situation. And they said they have at least two ISPs interested now. Okay.
Yeah, so they will be, we are finding, because the government is in charge in the sense, your public dollars are in charge, it's not for making highest profit, it's providing highest service. But they will have these one or two ISPs competing with each other, so keep the prices down. Because before that, Vidvitel was the only provider and they control the market and they charge higher prices. So this will put pressure on them to lower their price also. I think you will know more details from them, from the PUD strategy people. I'm just telling you our overall, to us, applying for grant, supporting the grant with money and getting it approved is for us. We think that we accomplished that part as a county government. Now PUD will come, and PUD now has in their charter or in their code that they can become ISP themselves if they want to. Because a lot of PUDs in our state they provide electricity, they are providing sewer, they are providing other, even water to different localities, homes, so they are the retailers of that. And so PUD has so far only worked for the refineries and large industries providing them water. They didn't get into any other business for retail business. So now they have ability to do that.
So again, just to restate, on the 22nd, we have our monthly meeting, and two folks from the Whatcom PUD will be there, the folks in charge of the program. So we can ask all our questions.
Is that in Darlington?
here,
No, here, PRCAC
the
meeting.
PRCAC regular
Oh,
meeting, 7 PM on the
Yeah.
22nd here.
Yeah, we got the PUD.
But does this preclude the widespread Wi-Fi?
No, I know that is a question, and Bob has asked me questions about that, and now there is an issue of gifting of funds. If it is a private company, I'll be very open with you, and Bob is here, I'm glad. Because if the private person comes in, say, give me money, I want to start this, and then charge you, it means we have gifted public funds to a private enterprise. So what we were trying to do with Bob was that we can maybe loan you the money with a collateral of your system, right? And then you provide the internet. Once it becomes viable, or you sign up for 500 people, with that strength, you can return our money back. Right? So we have not given public money to a private enterprise. This is a very high hurdle to pass as a government. So that, otherwise the deal Bob gave us was very good. If it was a private enterprise, or some bank was willing to finance it, I think this would have been, internet would have been here a year ago. I really liked it.
Talk of either the park or the marina getting some kind of.
That's a-
Wi-Fi.
No, that's a different issue. That's,
If it came down to it though, certain locations getting free Wi-Fi would suffice, given that there's a massive fiber.
You have a very good point, and PUD can do that too.
Yeah.
When PUD is laying their lines, they have a fiber coming there, they can put up a pole, right? And provide free internet like university campuses do, right? They put there, so the students walking around, everything has an internet. So they will have the ability, but that's something you guys talk.
Community center or.
2 or 3 places in there they can provide as a community, right? And then the other people. Now that could be through the ISP, they can make a deal with them that we will make you ISP if you provide this as well. So I don't know that detail.
My point is that neighborhood Wi-Fi is a rather difficult venture.
Yeah.
Every neighborhood Wi-Fi, it's costly and it's also impossible in some neighborhoods that have all underground service. Because now you have to construct a pole. Not everybody wants a pole. And they're on their block, that don't have it.
I don't believe that's the plan, but why don't we hold till we
Yeah.
have the PUD here?
Yeah,
and
that's
answer the question.
Yeah.
When the engineers get involved.
All right, shall we move to the next topic? Bill, that's,
Yeah.
Solid waste.
solid waste.
Solid waste.
Yes, most favorite subject.
I was gonna say, I think we pretty much just,
Yeah.
I've been.
pardon the pun, disposed of that.
Yeah, I moved here from New Jersey, and what do I get? I get stuck with the garbage. I mean, I first thought, I said, oh, garbage issue, somebody's banging the cans at 6:30 in the morning and the dog's barking. It always be something easy like that, you know? But you know, it's interesting, when you look at garbage, it's a regulated, function.
Yeah.
And people have, or organizations, whoever it is, have the propensity to take type templates and overlay it and say, that works for everyone. And it's a little more unique here because of the isolation. The fact we have basically one location. Well, how do you get rid of items that are recyclable? How do you get rid of green waste? And I carry this separately when I speak of recyclables and I speak of styrene. Styrene lives in a world by itself. It's completely because it does not compress. So it's one of those things where you collect styrene, I could fill this building up. And how do I make it smaller? I just build another building and fill it up. That's what happens with styrene. And it's something that should be, especially the polystyrene and so on, should be recyclable. So right now there's a contract in place. And I think it's important that when they sit down, it's not one of these, put the template over, check a few boxes, here's your price. There's got to be some mix because part of our population isn't here 6 months. And there's got to be a real hard look at how do you price everything at the same time, allowing a private business to make money. And understanding that if you add things like green waste to that, and you add things such as styrene, and then you add things such as recyclable, how does that increase the price? I always look back from when I lived in Thurston County for 21 years. I had plastic cans in front of my house, and every one of those cost me money. If you have standard, let's say you just, I put the garbage out and I call it a day and we have collection of recyclables, got one thing. But when you start getting a little more involved with green waste and so on, there were 4 cans out in front of the house. It worked well. And it's not free. Nothing in this life is free, no matter what they say to you. Oh, no, that's free. I throw that in where, you know, but wait, there's more. But wait, there's more really is a price to it. So if we're going to do this, we need to sit in front of that commission and say, here's all the elements that we want to go into this pricing. And what can you do for us? Because as with any set pricing in a utility commission, you can't mix or match. Like, you know, you're picking one from column A and one from column B and one from column. Can't do that. You get 12 cans. Well, could you pick up these 6 cans and leave these other 6 cans? And you got some guy that's picking up garbage with a clipboard in his truck going, all right, what's the next address? No, he can't pick that can up this week. So you don't want that to happen. So you need to sit in front of this commission or whoever does the pricing, and you have everybody in the room. Like the Italians say, tutta la famiglia, the family's in the room. And you deal with the family. You got the vendor, you've got the UTC, you've got people that are represented in the community, and you say, here's what we'd like to happen. What can that be at this cost? Well, then here's what this we'd like to happen. Well, what can be that cost? And so on. And you present those alternatives. You just don't go in with the template and say, 12 cans, have a nice day. So that's really where we're wanting to go. I have no problem being part of that. because that's what it really should be, a look-see. It's 2 by 2 up here on the point, 2 miles by 2 miles. It's not that difficult to figure that out onto how to service this, because we're not Linden, we're not Bellingham, we're not any of these other places, we're not even Sumas or any of those other places. This is that is serious about greenways. And that would be the first conversation, and serious about recycling. Now, there were a couple of incidents where I actually said to someone, if you don't get your garbage picked up or something's wrong, write a letter. Because that's the best thing. Anecdote or speaking or talking to somebody, no, write a letter, put it in writing, hand it to them, say, here's what happened on this day. And if you have a cell phone, you present the evidence. And when I went around, I asked, I said, okay, give me some, give me other than anecdotal, tell me, show me what you got. And I can take that back to someone and say, here's a complaint, a physical complaint, here's what happened. And fix it, because there's things separated from what I'd like to have the garbage company do versus customer service problems, mutually exclusive. And they should be handled separately. So, again, I thought it's kind of simple. I mean, you pick the garbage up and you put it in the truck and off you go. So let's go, if we have to the UTC, have them sit and explain to them that we're not a cookie cutter and that we have, here's some proposals. Here's 4 or 5 things what can you do, and give me a price.
Yeah.
Because like I said, nothing's for free. But that's what we want to do here.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing, that at the same time I hear from this community, I'm hearing from Candle community, because they don't have mandated garbage collection. There are blighted properties, there are homes with 4 RVs, no running water, no sanitation, and people live there, they have 22 cars parked there, parts taken out. And the neighbors can do anything. They come to us, what we did 2 years ago, we put 4 or 6 large, those garbage containers. We said, fill them up, we'll pay all the money. County did all the cost, haul them up, cleaned, helped them clean. And then 2 years later, I had 15 or 18 properties, neighbors went around, took pictures, took videos, brought it, do something. They attach their property, they pay their taxes. I can't attach the property just because you have garbage outside, right? They said, sell their property and use that money to clean up. Can't do that. You can't find them. They said, you write a ticket for $50, they said, write it $5,000. What does it matter? Just, you write it, you waste your paper.
Paper the toilet with it.
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah, go, you wanna take me to jail? I wanna go to jail. I'll get food, I'll get shelter, I get medicine, I'll get everything. Take me to jail. I mean, it's sad, but I'm facing that. And then we think about, why don't we have a model which is Point Roberts, have everybody pay for it? And you know, there are many sides of these issues.
So I was gonna say that, well, I think we found in the meeting that, 3 sides of how people look at it. Those people who don't want it, which is actually now going to very small. Those who want it to stay the way it is, which is actually a very small portion. And the majority was actually, we like it, but we'd like to see changes.
Improve.
We want to see improvement.
That's really.
We do that all the time.
And that's, I think, what Bill was saying is finding a better situation for our community, find ways to improve it, and
We started with something, it's not perfect,
Right.
but it's good enough, but we can make it better. Let's just work towards that and make it better for everybody.
So the
And
main,
that's what we will support you. We will support you. You wanna make it better, going to UTC.
And that's
making the
really what it
conditions,
is,
then
having
we
a
do
voice.
need-
We want a voice there to say,
Yeah,
we're not a cookie cutter.
yeah.
And,
Well, we
and
just need
we
to work
need the garbage picked up because, trust me, go to Detroit.
Yeah.
Go to downtown Baltimore or go to the Kensington section of Philly.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you don't pick up garbage.
Candle.
Kendall, but I mean, go look online, go look and see what it looks like.
Yes, please.
The real issue is that the UTC is only a checking body. I mean, they only take what the company the service provider gives them and double checks it that it's okay and rubber stamps it. The UTC doesn't get involved in what the company's gonna offer, what the company does, how the company's run. The UTC has nothing to do with that. They're just a rubber stamp at the end. The real issue is whether the existing service provider is willing to make any changes. It's not about the county, it's not about UTC, it's about the service provider willing to make any changes and offer any other services. That's it.
But
If they're not willing to make any changes or to offer any other services, then
right,
we're just.
No,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
the contract, you're right with the UTC of the contract. But if the UTC gets the message that don't you approve that contract because it's not meeting the needs, that's where you go, because
Okay, but the contract is with the county.
I understand.
So it's the county that needs to say, we're not gonna rubber stamp this.
And that's basically why he's sitting here, so we don't want anything rubber stamped.
Yeah.
And that's forcing it, maybe it's reverse engineering.
Yeah.
But if you found that you didn't get what you wanted when going to the front of the horse, you gotta go to the back of the horse. And
Yeah,
that's,
the UTC is just gonna tell you.
I got it, but we're saying this in front of him. But you see, everybody has to be at the table.
yes,
Yeah.
Everybody, that's the point. It's just not the UTC, because when I speak of this,
Yeah.
I say everybody's there.
see, this thing started, as you guys know,
Oh, yeah.
of the history of this thing. How much fighting we did in the council chamber, sometimes till 12 o'clock midnight, talking about, Point Roberts garbage. And,
I was
and, yes, so we did get to one point that we have the service. Now we want to work to make it better, improve, and I think the solid waste, advisory committee,
Is there
Well-
contract this fall?
I don't know, I don't remember.
When did we look? Was it next year? It was within a year and a half. 2 years.
Yeah, whenever that is,
It renews every year.
Right, but when is
yeah,
it?
but there's a master contract and it's
Yeah.
for 5 years, and then
It
you
was
renew
for
it
3.
yearly, and then that's
Yeah.
when the negotiations happen. And I think that the, solid waste department at, Whatcom County is willing to sit down with the
Yeah.
community and with this, but asking right in the middle to stop this or
Yeah.
just renege on the contract and fire the.
I didn't say that.
No, you didn't say that, but there were a lot of voices coming from many different quarters, right? But I think that if you as a community come together with a more reasonable, that this is what we want, and we can write, we can work with you and write that letter to UTC, then it's not just few people saying, it's community's voice going to UTC. They will listen to that because they do have this function. The services provided are meeting the needs of the citizens.
No, it's the contract that Washington County has with the service provider.
Yeah.
That matters. The UTC has got nothing to do with that are provided to us.
What I see written here, that,
Requires the supplier
yeah,
to make those things available. It's like when they mandated recycling.
yeah,
The county said recycling mandated, so the service provider had to do recycling. What we're asking is the county to mandate that the service provider provide green waste pickup and food waste pickup.
or what I'm saying is, at the negotiation of the next contract, you will have a voice in the contract before it's signed.
All right.
Yeah, that's perfect.
When is that?
Okay,
When is that?
I'll get back to, I'll report back to you.
we'll, we'll reconcile, we'll let you know.
That's it.
Great. Next issue, Nell and Brian, affordable housing.
I'll do a preamble, Brian, and we can leave with that.
Sure.
Okay. So when I moved here in 2012, I was looking for rental properties. And at that time, there were between 8 and 10 every single month. Reasonable price, etc. Like every other community, large and small, lots of things have happened in the housing market since then. I look just out of curiosity every month, and sometimes the rental property ad is completely absent. COVID, like every other community, dealt a huge blow, perhaps a bit worse to Point Roberts than most other communities, that is long lasting. We are adjacent to Vancouver, and we have a lot of Vancouverites who have moved here and purchased properties and or renting properties because it's cheaper than living in Vancouver. We since 2014, 2015, a large number of our vacation properties have become Airbnb properties. We continue to have huge border issues, and we will not be able to recover our economy if we can't bring workers in to serve restaurants, to clean those Airbnb properties, et cetera, et cetera. There are people in the audience today who've spoken with me on numerous occasions about how critical affordable housing in Roberts is for them personally and for our economy in general.
Great. I want to start is we are still doing due diligence. Some of the stuff you're going to hear me say later may sound maybe against something that you're supportive of or not supportive of. So we are not making recommendations today. We are still doing the background on it. And in fact, at the insistence of some of the members of the committee. Like all of us that live here, it's obvious to us that the British Columbia empty housing tax is producing millions of dollars for them to produce affordable and workforce housing. That certainly may be an option once we get all the background done. We're not there. Don't want anybody to get too upset. Earlier this month, recognizing it's only the 5th, I contacted Lindsay Burmeister at the Bellingham and Whatcom County Housing Authority, requesting information on whether the authority has surveyed housing needs here in Point Roberts. If not, if such a survey is under consideration, any future projects that they may have planned in Point Roberts, the closest affordable housing projects I'm aware of are in Blaine. And finally, if the authority has considered the empty housing fee, similar to British Columbia, specific to application to Point Roberts, providing equity with the immediately adjoining metropolis to the north. We're just awaiting a reply from them to see what's going on. Like I said, we're still doing background. We're not bringing forward any of this at the moment. We're just trying to do due diligence before we come up with any kind of suggestion. Anything that we come up with will be brought forward to the public meetings we have on a monthly basis. And certainly you're all invited to enjoy that process along with us. That's pretty much it.
I'm gonna add something for that, so you can understand something. So like Anil said, we used to have rental homes.
Yeah.
For staffing and things like that. Over the years, those rental homes have decreased mainly because they've actually turned into Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Even more recently, I've had actually people come to me because of the contracting and things like that, and have actually straight up said, I just bought a house strictly for the purpose to turn it into an Airbnb.
Yeah.
Now, I help run a business. We actually had people that I was going to bring up to Point Roberts to work in Point Roberts. I cannot open 7 days a week. I don't have enough staff. You know what the catalyst was for me not to be able to have those employees? I had zero place for them to stay. I was begging people, anybody, I'm like, hey, do you have a rental? Hey, do you have a rental? And one woman actually straight up told me, She goes, oh no, I make thousands of dollars as an Airbnb in the summer. No,
Thousands of dollars.
but we need to find some sort of way, either via creating a reasonable build out somewhere in Point Roberts, whether we, I don't build a tiny home village for all I care, something, or do create a process. I know that the county is discussing for registration of Airbnbs.
Yeah.
But you know, it's affecting the business community in Point Roberts. We are trying to get our H2 visas back. Allie Hayden can't open the grocery store past 7 p.m. at night, even on a Friday or Saturday night, because she can't get enough employees.
Yeah.
So if you run out of milk, you better hope the gas station has some. You know, it's severely affecting us, and you know, it's almost sad to say that we can't have a generation move to Point Roberts, because if you can't afford to buy a house, you can't afford to move here, even though there's jobs and there's good paying jobs. That we're going to, basically, we're screaming and yelling to get our visas back to hire Canadians. When really what we should be doing is saying, hey, move to Point Roberts with your family.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me start here. This is a issue which is not unique to Point Roberts or Whatcom County or Washington State. This is all over. The biggest thing that from 40s, when the boom started in the West in the United States, was the housing, where people were building houses for living because they can go work in a farm or a factory. Then it turned into an investment. It's upside down. People buy homes to see how much money they can make. Living is a secondary consideration. I have listened to people, a young couple, walking and looking at a house and saying, you know, 3-bedroom would be better, because when we sell it, it will get more price. So they haven't even bought the house. They haven't even lived in there. They're already thinking when we sell it. So that is their biggest consideration when we sell it. So their retirement dependent, this is not any individual's fault. This is how we decided to do this. We need public housing. We need the 30-40% of houses in every community which are affordable forever. Means they do not go with market boom and bust. They are for living of people. Let's restore that. Now, that's not we can achieve right now. So I just wanted to tell you why there's so much pressure. Why in 2008, you can't give away your house. You couldn't go in Arizona, you can pay $1 in one street, and with $20, you buy 20 homes. And they even vacated your mortgages. They said, no, take a new one, at least start paying us back. Because we bailed out the banks, say whatever your loss is, put it aside. We don't know, common person. You can't do that. But then they gave them a new mortgage at 2% interest and half the price. And they said, the old one, we're gonna wipe it out as a loss. And now we are at this situation that now interest rate is at 7%.
Yeah.
House prices, the ordinary house, which is $200,000, was a nice house, not too long ago. Now, it's $750,000, $800,000. Vancouver is even more on fire than us here in Point Roberts. But that's not the solution. I think we cannot build, the governor announced we need 1 million homes in Washington State in the next 20 years. Whatcom County needs 5,000 homes every year to just catch up. Vacancy rate, like 0.1%, 0.2%. In Ferndale, there are whole Ferndale, 16,000 population. 10 homes for sale, that's all. Yeah. And those are also, people are moving, or there's a death in the family, or divorce or something like, nobody's moving otherwise. Nobody's even upgrading. They don't wanna lose their mortgage, which they just bought 2 years ago, which is 3 or 4%. They don't wanna upgrade because now they have to get a mortgage of 7 or 8%. They say, I'm happy where I am, right? But that's what we are dealing with, and no single local government has the power or financial power to go against the market forces. That's what the market force is. People who have homes, they are actually smiling. It's their own kid can't buy a house, but parents say, our house, we gained $200,000 in our equity last year. Or so much, right? It's like, okay, a lot of people saying, it's not bad the house prices are going up. The other people are saying, oh my God, you're killing us. I'm starting my life, I'm starting my family, can't even buy a house, can't even rent a place. So I don't know the solution. We are dealing with that every day in Bellingham. We have invested over $20 million during the COVID on affordable housing. We have about, I don't know the exact number, 4,000 to 5,000 people who we are paying rent for. Otherwise, they would be homeless. Senior citizens, they will be homeless. Yeah. We don't see them. We see only people who are living in a tent or who are walking around with a cart. But there are another few thousand people who could easily be there. And we don't have that much money that we can prop everybody up. Yes, please.
I had offered this to Sharon Keelan when she was here last summer. I have a piece of property that's fully serviced, septic, power, water. And I said, I want to do affordable housing for rental housing for employees, the workers. And how do I go about it? And she gave me the name of some guy who's never returned any of my emails. How can you help me?
Yeah. There is no, like the way our code is, the way the state code is, there is no carve out for this. We are tinkering with the code to say that affordable housing, we feel for it, right? You as a landowner say, oh, I can build maybe 5 homes or 5 apartments or something which are affordable and do this. But the society, the government, there is nothing like that there.
So what's Rockland County doing then to solve this problem?
We have to create that.
Haven't you recently approved permitting for container homes? I think there's going to be a program that says container homes. There's a lot of modular options available now. There's tiny homes, container homes, dome homes, but it seems like some of the more complex, highly regulated areas seem to be wrapped around the axle and trying to get those approved in a scalable manner.
You use the keyword highly regulated. And those are not only that we in the county are regulated. Right? So there are GMA, there are zonings, there are other things which are limiting our ability. Now, just this year, 2 months ago, the legislature passed, which is basically said there should be no single family zone, period, in Washington state. If somebody has a home, old home, they want to demolish and build a 4-plex or duplex or triplex, they should be allowed to do that, which is a big deal. But to come out and actually be happening in the community, it'll take a little time. But that's what legislature went ahead and do that, right? Now, there are pockets, like the lady said, that she has a ability to do that. There are places. You can't make a regulation for a particular place that makes sense. Like this is the, I being county executive don't have the authority. If I go walk around and I get convinced that this is a good thing to do, why don't we just do it? I can't do that. We have to do a community code change to able to do it for everybody. Sorry, it may not be a reasonable coming from me to you, but this is not so simple. When we call heavily regulated is a reality. We have bound ourselves into so many things that we are hurting ourselves actually with all these rules we have made.
Well, Wood Roberts already has a special regulation 2072 that's.
Yeah.
just Wood Roberts, so.
We can look at your private, as a separate, entity or separate case. But what I'm talking is general. Housing is our biggest issue. And this doesn't seem like solution to it, in near future. Our population growth alone is such that we cannot keep up with that.
Yeah, I can add, that, you know, Washington County, we have these great projects, we invest millions of dollars, but it fixes 50 houses here that humanity is doing, or the coastal land trust. 50 homes at a time, you're not gonna solve the affordable housing, right? If there was a PRCAC here that you want to do a Habitat for Humanity type of build on, that's a potential that could have a big impact in Point Roberts, right? If it's large enough, they'll have wetlands there, right?
Yeah, everything's wetland.
Everything.
Right, so what are we doing? Well, we're doing these little piecemeal things, but that's what it's all getting at is that, you know, if you're not solving the fact that we need, 2,000 homes a year. And you're just doing it by these little piece buildings, yeah, we're helping some very specific folks, that's great. But at the county level, to fix those social problems, you're never gonna have affordable housing only in Whatcom County and not in Skagit County and not in Snohomish County. So.
I understand that.
Same as landowners, developers, just the development cost alone. It adds $40,000-$50,000 a house. Bellingham, city of Bellingham has 9 months. You make an application, 9 months it takes to get your permit.
And is it?
That is, they say, is faster.
Yeah.
Right? The hookup fees to the sewer, to the water and everything, $36,000. Hookup fee. Right? So, yes, please, go ahead.
Well, I think it's kind of interesting that we're all talking about all these problems. I feel like the number one problem is what Pat brought up in the All-Point Bulletin, latest All-Point Bulletin. There's a sovereign state north of us that controls everything we do. It's called Customs and Border Protection. And you're not gonna have any problems getting rental apartments here or rental properties here, because all the Canadians aren't gonna come back. They're gonna sell it, we'll see it. I mean, I talked to people on the long weekend, 2 hours. 2 hours they waited to get across the border. Why? Because nobody would walk from the sovereign state's giant edifice outside and open a second lane. Now, I can read for you. This is very
I
short.
have read, yes,
This is
you are
very-
right, sir, yeah.
I'm having brutal issues at the border, I'm not going to be able to rent your cottage, I'm really sorry, can you e-transfer me back my deposit? And this is not an isolated incident. Almost everybody that rents from me, I have 4 cottages here, almost everybody that comes in from Canada is treated like a criminal. Even Americans, I had an American who's rented from me, and he had his wife's breast in the back. And they wrecked his life. I won't go into the story, they wrecked his life. So what can you do to help us get control back of Point Roberts? We don't have control anymore. Nothing, I mean, everybody's talking like, we are slowly dying. We went through the pandemic, then we went through, the can pass thing that they had. All of those things have been slowly strangling Point Roberts. Because there's no dialogue, there's no control with that state that's at the border, that nobody can do anything about it. Is there anything you can do to help us in that regard?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You are very right. But this is something only federal government can handle it. Even we had such a hard time. They stopped me during COVID to come across and come with. I had my card and everything with me. It said, sir, we're not allowed. So remember we started a ferry, right? Just so that we can convenience some people, some point of time, at least they can reach Bellingham. It was not a financial proposition that we ran that ferry for, right? It was just for making it convenient for people to have access. This is a big issue. There is no reason that the losses we are having with this border control, look at Blaine, sometimes 3 to 4 hours. Just the gas being burned by people would pay for 2 employees who can open 2 more lanes.
Yeah.
I don't know what their reason or what their motive is. But between our 2 nations, US and Canada, it should be very, very open and quick. You go into Europe, you just put your passport, they know who you are, you just drive through. They ask, why are you going? Okay, what do you want me to tell you? Why I'm going? I just feel like going. Isn't that good enough? Isn't that good enough? I just feel like going there. Right? I mean, it's silly. It's silly.
So can I go back to the housing?
Yeah, let's get back to that. Yes,
I
please.
think for the broadband, for example, I think it was really useful, the report that the PRD produced that quantified and analyzed the problem in Point Roberts from a connectivity point of view. So I think when I look at housing, who can we work with from the county to help us better understand in detail? Because we are kind of an all volunteer body. We don't really have the resources or skills even to go analyze. But if there's somebody we should work with, I think that would be really helpful for us.
I don't know if we don't, city has more department like that, but county doesn't. Because we are not population oriented, counties, because mostly when we do this comprehensive plan, everything, the growth goes to the cities for human growth. We are more into industry, more into farming and all this, so we don't have a special department for that. It could be only the planning and development services who are the permitting people. But we can go back and talk about it, maybe the Bellingham, it's Whatcom Bellingham Housing Authority. They may have somebody expertise or who knows about housing and come and do it some kind of survey or study.
Yeah, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that, so Brian, I just ask a question for everyone. What do you consider, you hear the word affordable housing, it's like, how high is up?
Yeah.
So affordable housing, so in a context of, say, family, or just somebody, they wanna work. They're out of school, they wanna work, wanna come here and work. What would you consider to be affordable housing? Talking about, not dollar amount. I'm talking because the reason I'm asking is a couple of reasons. First of all, I did some research and I was wondering what was going on in Portland, because as a function of homeless. Because a lot of the people that were homeless, as you said, were not homeless as a function of any type of drug use or anything. They were homeless because they can't afford a house. That's where they end up. So I was looking at some of the solutions that Portland has finally come up with, like, they get an epiphany because their city is literally falling apart. And recently, in the last 30 days, they came up with something. I didn't catch the whole thing, but if you go do some research, it was, they built on 14,000 square feet. Now, how much is 14,000 square feet? Maybe you can help me. Do you have any idea what 14,000 is? Is it a third of an acre? Is it a quarter of an acre? What is it?
Third of an acre.
Third of an acre, 14,000. So they were putting stuff up and they actually showed the picture. And they had very specific rules that went along with it. this, like you say, affordable housing. And it wasn't large, but it provided certain things, bedroom, shower, and there was a communal kitchen and so on. But it seems to be working that they put up 2 more. And it's starting to, you know, they're starting to move some movement because the homeless population is everywhere. The other thing was, I was out driving around and I saw this, you know, I'm looking at this park. And you think about, you know, not a trailer park per se, but there's pads, there's hookups, and there's goosenecks. And there were 3 families and they're raising their families in a 40-foot gooseneck. And that's what their affordable housing is. They come and go, their lot is, you know, whatever it is, the rental on the cement plus the hookups. But that is another alternative, that you provide an area that could possibly provide hookups. And the most inexpensive solution may be goosenecks, because you start seeing the prices on what do you call it? Even the small houses, tiny houses. Yeah, the manufactured homes and such. But it's something to look at and see what they're doing in Portland, because they talked about not only the homeless community as a function of, you know, those that are homeless and those that can't afford a house, plus they were building units for families. And I'm just curious, what is it, 1,100 feet? Is it 1,200 feet? How big a unit are we talking about? And what seems to be the ballpark in that particular thing about quote unquote affordable housing?
Right, okay. Well, like I said, we're still doing some background research. And I'll continue to do that. I'm sure Nell is involved on her end of it too. So we're not at a point where we're ready to make recommendations.
Sure, I was just curious if somebody's mind, you know, it's like how big is big or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw clearly those situations.
If you go into the old areas of Bellingham or even Eversord, Matsky, Mission, you will find homes, they were 800-900 square feet.
Right.
And my wife came from India, she was 4 or 5 years old. She grew up in Matsky. 3 kids, mom and dad, they had 800 square feet home. They lived there for 7 years. Today, it's not acceptable. One time somebody came to me, he said, why don't you build like army barracks and put all the homeless people in there? They said, people came to me and said, you think these people are prisoners? These are people are interned, that you want to put them in barracks? So what is acceptable to our society? And the people who make that argument, they live in a nice house.
Yeah, that's exactly the point.
And they think they should have the same home like I have.
It's exactly the point. So what kind of housing is
So-
in somebody's mind?
How do you solve this problem? There's no practical way of solving it.
They don't usually describe affordable housing in terms of the facility, it's in terms of how much income, so the US government says 30%.
Yeah, 30%.
Right, exactly. Right, guy making $20 an hour affordable is different than guy making $50 an hour, but both are homeless. In a way, they both can't afford a house.
And then add into that the variable of where you live.
Yeah,
Because even though you may live in your 30% of your income, what is that gonna buy you in a Seattle market or some other market versus someplace in Indiana or someplace in Ohio? And they're kind of like mutually exclusive. So that's why I'm thinking about, go look about what they did in Portland, because it was a big deal on the news the other day. I'm a news junkie, so it's like I was figuring out what the hell's going, and they reported 3 different locations and they've had success.
And in interest of time, I think we have.
Yeah, in interest of time,
Yeah.
let's go.
I think we can get a contact from the.
yeah, we
Yeah.
will make a note and we'll let you know.
Okay,
Who we can-
And
moving on.
The dog park,
Yeah,
which I think we can
Yeah.
briefly do because we're meeting
Yeah.
with them
Right.
hopefully on the 15th.
And
Yep.
this one, gentlemen, is easy.
Thank goodness. There's something easy.
The community is for it. We wrote a huge and extraordinary proposal.
Yeah.
And we have the place, we have the need, the community wants it. Please give it to us. And we're gonna meet
So-
with the county Parks
Commission.
Commission
Yeah.
on Thursday
Yeah.
next week at Lighthouse Park. Please be there if you want a
Good.
dog park.
Bennett has told me that he's looking
Good.
into that and do this. One more thing I want to add to this, since we have a few more minutes, is that the transportation district money, Point Roberts has $1.5 million or more. I've been trying since last 4 or 5 years that how we can do that. I worked with Sharon Shoemake that if you can put a proviso in one of the bills that this money can be used only in Point Roberts, but widen the scope of that so that we can cover other things. Then we ran into an issue that there's an 18th Amendment which says that if the money comes from the fuel tax, it has a specified purpose in the RCW. To do that, somebody has to propose an amendment into the gas tax law or our constitution. And that was not possible, we dropped it. Then we talked to our attorneys again, and this is only 3 months ago. They believe that there is a way that a legislature proviso can free up that money. It doesn't have to be the 18th Amendment of the Constitution. So I'm not a lawyer, I don't know the exact detail. So I believe that in the coming session in January, we are going to ask our 42nd legislative district, the representative, to jointly offer a pathway for us to free up that money. We as a county, we don't want to use your money, very frankly. But that money has very tight circle around it where it can be used. We want to do that expansion that all your needs for the dog, boat launch, dog park, regular maintenance of the trees and during storm and other things, if we can use that money, it will make it so much easier. It's your money for your back.
Mark Robbins has his hand up. Mark?
Yeah, let's see, am I muted? No, okay, you can hear me. Good. Just to clarify, because that's sort of been my issue for a long time. I've been in touch with Senator Shoemake. You'll never use it for a dog park, first of all. The proposal is to change the RCW so that gas tax revenue can be used for a broad range of transportation improvements. I don't think a dog park is a transportation improvement. We've known for more than 10 years on advice of the county prosecuting attorney's office that the 18th Amendment has nothing to do with our transportation benefit district revenues. It's not a state tax, therefore it doesn't fall under the restrictions of the 18th Amendment. County Council 10 years ago passed a unanimous resolution asking the legislature to modify the RCW to make it allowable to use the gas tax money for a wide range of transportation improvements, not dog parks, unfortunately, not docks in Lighthouse Park, unfortunately, but transportation improvements such as public transportation, which we don't have here, and which that would be a very good use for, in my opinion. Senator Erickson and Representative Van Werven at the time took it to the legislature. It went to their transportation committees. It was killed in committee. I don't think they fought very hard for it, but the specter of the 18th Amendment was raised, but it doesn't apply. And I'm happy to say that Senator Shoemake has taken an interest in this. I've been in touch with her. I've explained the background to her. I think it would be an improvement if we could use our gas tax money for public transportation and other things other than street construction and maintenance. But just to be clear, it has to be a transportation improvement.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you. Oh, yeah, so anyways, I've been trying different ways that money can be used for your benefit some way in Point Roberts. It's not for us to use it in the county.
So our last item is the WTA.
Yeah, really quickly on WTA, I think executive, you're familiar with, the needs of the community here with respect to transportation, connecting us back to the mainland.
Yeah.
Actually, we did a survey, I copied Jed, and Maureen McCarthy from the WTA, which was, I think, a little bit, different from the situation as we understood it, so it was good to see the community's input. People would really like to see some form of WTA service, whether that's, even once a week, you know, a service back and forth so that people can do their essential shopping or pick up medications or whatever, as long as it provides them enough time in the mainland to get their chores done and then come back. The details are in the email. I think you were forwarded that as well. Maureen is out right now, but she promised that she would get back to us end of May, which is already June. But we're waiting to hear back on what she was looking at, all the parameters around insurance and everything else that we have to go into it. But anything else that from your side you could?
Well, from my side, if you remember, it was 2020. When we came here, we had at that restaurant in a large meeting. I offered 2 vans for you. I said, we will get 2 vans for you. We will pay for the fuel. You have to find a driver, like you can find a community thing. And we can cover the insurance if it is we don't own it, right? That is big. Then you have to qualify the drivers. The bureaucracy goes so far, then it becomes untenable. I said that we could buy 2 van pool vans. We can buy from WTA, give it to Point Roberts to use it whichever way you want. We can give you $500 a month subsidy for the fuel. You guys are in charge of yourself. You want to go on a Wednesday, you want to go on a Friday, you want to spend all day, you want to spend 2 hours, be independent and do that. But there were no takers. I think that thing was thought through with some people, but nobody said that they want to do this, right? Getting a bus here and back, the driver doesn't have a residence here, so otherwise we have to put them in a motel, right? All this, we explored that last year or a year, a little more than 18 months ago. That didn't make any sense for us to do that because the passenger list is very small. To me, it is better if you are in charge of this yourself rather than WTA. We can get you some subsidy for that, but you organize yourself as a community and do that. Then I had from Circle of Care sent me an email very recently that they would like to use, and this is like 2 months ago, that they would like to use their van, which is available a lot of times, and can you help us with this scheduling software? That where people can go online, say, I want to go on Wednesday, I want to go, then she can send email back or something. They want to do that. So the ferry which was running and scheduling was happening was done by the Port of Bellingham. And then it came out the ferry people who we rented the ferry from, they did the scheduling. So we don't own that software. They thought that we have the software, we can give it to them. My proposal is that it would be a lot easier if you as a community find a local solution. We can help you with the money. Because our obligations are permanent, means that WTA does that, right? And, a minibus, whatever, if there are 1 people or 5 people or 7 people, I don't see that more than 10 people going at any one time. Right? And it doesn't make sense they come every day. If we fix that they come only on Friday, then doesn't good with everybody because they have different doctor's appointment or different day, some other appointment for other services. It's varies so much, right? We want to help you,
So Paul, with that being said,
yeah.
would we then be opting out of the WTA portion of the sales tax? Because if we're not going to be serviced by WTA, why would we be paying the WTA sales tax percentage?
Yeah.
And then having to do it ourselves and find funding locally in the sense, because that is, you know, it's 1% of the 0.1% sales tax.
Yes,
For
but
Point Roberts, I know there are other areas in Whatcom County that do not pay the WTA because they're not serviced by WTA. So would that mean we would fall in the same basket as that area where we would be in that different tax code?
that can be looked at. If that's your preference, we can work that, but that doesn't gain you, that doesn't solve your problem. Your problem is transportation, not that you're paying the tax. And that, what I was saying was that we can give you subsidy means that that money you are paying into that can be given back to you in the form of van, in the form of fuel, in the form of some other subsidy, I don't know. Yes, please.
How do you know how much money that is?
How would we?
How would you know how much money that is? How do you know how much money you paid into WTA?
I know that's a big question because everything gets mixed, because you are in the county, if you were in a city, we
Yeah,
can
no.
separate it.
No.
But you being in the county, all the sales tax gets into one lump in the county's portion. I don't know, but we can do a rough and dirty calculation so that it's fair to you, means residents here, right? But I don't know but it doesn't solve the issue we are trying to solve. Your issue is you need to be connected to the mainland on need basis for several of your residents. Every resident doesn't need that. People are able to have their own transportation scheduled, they have cars, they can afford it, or they do that anyways, different way. It's the certain part of the population need that help. Right? And that's what we're trying, yes, please.
But if WTA sent a bus up here
Yeah.
in the morning,
Yeah.
wouldn't we have workers catch that bus to come here and work?
No, theoretically it's great, but if we send a bus here with one person in and goes back empty.
I think she was saying it
60.
might actually help also solve our employment issue, because if the bus leaves Bellingham in the morning, it could bring people here to work all day and then take them home, and then the bus is full coming here, it's full going there, it's full coming back, it's full going back.
It's all fine and good, I'm not denying that, but can you identify that 10 workers will be there every day, coming in, going back? Like, that's what comes down to when you're really doing it. Theoretically makes a lot of sense. That's why I said even that if we have a van for you, right, that you can schedule as need basis, or some businesses can come get together and do that. I don't know the answer. Yes, please.
There was an existing transit once a week on Tuesday before COVID. You called paratransit with Whatcom County Bus Service. You arranged the ride a day in advance, so they knew how big a van to provide for us. It took us into Bellingham. It was able to use the bus lane so it didn't have to wait in the lineup. It could go through the bus lane, and it was much quicker. We went inside, 30 customers and went back out. Just bringing that, I mean, there should be, there's already a plan in place for that because it was in place before COVID.
Okay, I can talk to Les about that. Yes, please.
Easy question, Paul.
Okay.
It's easier than dog park. When is the county prepared to clear the boat launch at Point Roberts for the summer season? And when is the county and the county council going to open up bids to replace the pier?
I don't know that answer. I think this is the answer we need to get to from the council.
Will you do it? It's a matter of going, it doesn't cost anything. to go
No,
out the bids.
okay, I will sign it. If council approves it, I will not stop it. But this is a question to the council, not to the executive. I don't have powers to do that. Council approves it, I will not stop it. Yes, please.
I have a quick question. Does anybody know when the sheriff's department is gonna return to pre-COVID, presence on the board?
Yeah, do you want to write this down? Let's ask Bill Alford. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair question.
So just to close on.
I'm in favor of that. But
We're talking about clearing the launch, right? Are we still on that subject? Because that's fairly straightforward, that can be done.
clearing the launch means just remove the sand, or you want to.
The sand, debris and everything else to provide the access that we had before, 10 years
That's
ago.
Parks Department, isn't it?
That's what when it's gonna be here, you should talk to him. If there's a proposal and we take it to the council, they approve it, we'll do it.
Yeah. Would it be possible to have some local contractors do it? There's certainly local contractors here that have that equipment.
We are working on the small roster thing also. I don't know how small is this, on small projects. Yeah.
Is this a public comment section or?
So let me just close out the WTA.
Yeah, you close up WTA, please.
So I'll wait for Maureen to reply.
Yeah.
To what she found.
Yeah.
The one concern I do want to express with sort of do it ourselves, which might be in the end the only viable approach. But it does kind of start the slippery slope down. Point Roberts is too hard to serve for, some county departments, so we get an exemption from the sales tax and then we're off on our own. I don't want that to become the precedent.
Yeah, and I don't want to, that's why I didn't wanna fight on that, let's give your tax back. Because that's not the biggest advantage you get. You get more advantage in getting service from the county.
That's right.
Than getting your tax back.
That's exactly right.
Even when I talked before, I said, why don't you guys become a city? The cost will be so exorbitant on you. All the tax you're paying, you will be paying more than twice of that if you become a government. You become a city.
Yeah.
It's not to your advantage to do so.
The overhead alone.
Yeah.
Back to.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with anyone who is online who has, I'm not reading chat. So if you have a question that you would like to ask the executive, you could please raise your hand. If not, I will be going to the room.
Anybody?
Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the room.
Hang
Anyone?
on, I'm online.
Okay.
I'm trying to get on Zoom. Okay, here I am. Okay, I have a question. Okay. Okay, so let's become a city then. How do we do that? Or rather, like, can we become unincorporated because of the small population?
There is a process to do that.
We don't have a population.
This is not the forum for that, but yes, there is a process. You can look it up on the internet, how to become a city in Washington State. It tells you all about it.
Well, just before we move on, so I specifically want to know, is it easier to become unincorporated and independent, or is it easier to become a city? And I will look it up, because I think we should become independent. All that tax money and the pot being shared with everybody, I don't think that's right, given how many people come down here for gas and packages. Yeah. So would you happen to know that? Which one is easier, unincorporated or a city?
Off the head, top of my head, no, I don't, but we can write down that and let our attorneys find an answer for you.
Okay, I think it's a great idea, because I think about the West Kootenays and the East Kootenays of British Columbia, and there are thousands of little unincorporated villages with 300 people. They're all independent. I think
let me
it's
tell
the way
you
to
one,
go.
let me share something with you.
Sure.
The way the Canadian state or province and the federal government works, United States is very different.
I know.
States Constitution is very different.
Finding out.
Because I'm a Canadian citizen too. I have lived here for a long time.
Right. So am I. Too.
Yeah. Services are automatically covered by the province and by the federal government. It's not in the United States. You become city, you are on your own for everything.
That's right.
for everything.
Yeah. And the old.
That bill is very, very high.
Yeah.
So you cannot compare the conditions in Canada with the conditions in the United States. Yes, they're
Okay,
not.
thank you for that.
One more question.
Is Lena? Elena, I keep doing
Hi.
that. to you, honey.
That's okay. That's all good. Thank you. Thanks for taking my question. Is there an ability for the county to support or publicly support or advocate for supporting H-2 visas for temporary employment to support the businesses in Point Roberts is my first question. And then the second question is there used to be educational workshops for small businesses pre-COVID in Point Roberts, and can that be brought back to support the businesses that are emerging in Point Roberts as a way to sustain a small economy?
Okay, the first question answer is yes. You guys write a letter as a community or PRCAC, and we need to send the federal government. I will sign a support letter for that, that Point Roberts should be given that exemption.
Thank you.
Or special status. Whatever the federal government can do, I'll support that.
Yeah, I could add that we've been in contact with the Senator Murray's office and Senator Cantwell's office, and they were looking at that, and we signed on as acknowledged county support for that.
Yeah.
That's about the limit of what we can do and
Yeah,
signaling our support.
and we need to do again, we'll send more letters, support for that. Now, about the classes or educational thing, if I may know who was doing it, I don't think it was county, it was some other, either nonprofit organization or Chamber of Commerce or somebody else was doing it. I don't know. If you can find out who was doing it, we'll reach out back to them to do it again.
I think it was a program done by the State Department of Commerce that was being facilitated by the Port of Bellingham.
Okay, so now the state is doing everything by Zoom, but.
Yeah, I was trying to remember backwards and I'm pretty sure.
And they do offer classes. And it could be doing statewide. There could be people from Olympia, people from Bellingham or Spokane taking the same class. So, we can reach out to Department of Commerce, what they have, so that you can start getting the emails from them on this.
And I can reach out.
We can facilitate or help you with that, no problem.
Okay, because Point Roberts is in a unique position of when families come here to support small online businesses like laptop warrior businesses that can use. They don't necessarily need resources in the community, but they need good internet, and then they can produce commerce locally that helps the local economy.
Anyone else online? Okay, seeing none. Anyone in the room that has a question? Or...
Yes, please.
So there's concerns with the ordinances. So, the only questions. It was not the husband's. He said it was 3 minutes. Because so this. Community, but I think it's simple. He's serious though. It's not to be flimsy.
Oh, just so you know, people online cannot hear you. The audio's gone off again.
Can you hear us now?
Can you
Oh,
hear
yeah,
us?
much better. Thank you.
I think she's sitting a little distant
Yeah.
from the microphone, that's why maybe. And her question was about enforcement on people clearing land to build homes. And what is the enforcement on that? That was the question, right? Yeah,
Going outside of the existing ordinances.
It's
So-
that they're not enforcing.
Correct.
Yeah, they are not enforcing.
Yeah.
then yes, I totally understand that.
Hundreds of years old, never coming back.
Hmm,
Owls nests.
Yeah. Do you have? This would just help me. 1 or 2 examples. I don't want you to snitch on your neighbors or anything. But if you can
Yeah, okay.
point out to 1 or 2 situations, then I can specifically talk to the planning development services because they are the ones who give permits. What form they get them to fill it and what they do and look into that because that I need something to go on.
Okay, well, I'll give you, I talked to several different issues baked in there, so I'll talk to the double dipping one. Yes, there was a lot behind there, that was recently that was absolutely decimated a whole forest for no reason, because someone wants a view. And they already had one, for the record. It was cleared in the 2000s, but they were able to go in, and wipe the slate clean, apply the ordinances freshly, and apply the percentages based on what was done. So that was number 1, and I would imagine that there's neighbors here, look, anecdotal evidence is one thing, there's definitely some data we can look at, but there's other people who said seen the same thing in their life, that was the big issue. I think the other issue I brought up, for an example, I'll give Seabright as an example, the trees are dying from falling. I imagine they retain some of those, you know, there's enough there. Not enough, but those ones that are left are rotting, so of course they have to come down, right? So
Yeah.
who's making the determination to clear those? So just a few tweaks to the, I would say calls to the county, honestly, because people see trees crashing, they're calling, they're like, we need to get out of here. It's like, maybe we need some financial deterrence. $1,000 per tree to cut down, that might not even deter somebody with plenty of money, but something's better than nothing. The only deterrent right now is that they can retroactively get a permit and they have to plant 2 trees. And again, like, you know, those are native trees, but it's gonna be years before they can house the habitats that that would take up.
No, I've been very much favor of planting more trees, and if you remember in 2019, I started planting 1 million trees. And we have done about a couple of 100,000 in last 4 years. I admire that, bringing that thing up. We'll talk to our planning development services, what kind of, system they have, especially for Point Roberts, how they verify that.
So that Paul, I was going to say, I think this falls along with a lot of things that we've talked about, like I talked to Public Works about, we were having issues. I was going out and making sure I was being very vocal about it, that the culvert underneath your driveway is not the responsibility of Public Works. You need to clean the culvert underneath your driveway so the ditches can flow. It's about education, similar to what we were talking about earlier about the archaeological and the wetland. It's about education. And I think similar with land clearing, it's about educating the community about what you can and cannot do, because some people think, oh, well, I can go take 70% of the trees off of a lot to clear it without a permit. Well, yes and no, because the actual permit rule for a fill and grade is 50 cubic yards. Once you exceed your 50 cubic yards, you require a permit.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a lot that's full of trees and you take 70% of them, you are over your 50 cubic yards. It needs a permit.
Yeah.
So a lot of this is, I think, education of our community to understand what the rules are, what the regulations are. And to be honest, it's not hard to fill out a fill and grade permit. And you send it in by email. The staff is amazing. They are really great to work with. But if people don't know how to work within the lines and what the rules are, and I know this group would be more than willing to work with the staff as we have been previous. I think I said our health department, education, you know, we did those too. We had 200 people. People are actually eager for the knowledge. And I think before we start throwing fines at people who may honestly not know, some people probably do, but there's a lot of people who may honestly don't know.
Yeah.
That we at least do some education and say, well, you should have known. We put out and we put the videos, we taped it. It was on YouTube. You could have seen it if you didn't make the meeting of when the county was up to explain how these work. And I think that's the best thing, and is to have the PDS staff or Public Works staff, depending on what we're talking about, come up and do those kind of classes in essence.
We can print an FAQ on the meeting in real terms that doesn't have ordinance numbers, but form it in a question. I would take that on and work. I just think that doesn't follow. I think you probably have, or maybe a little bit more faith in humanity than we do, but I just think that you know, there are people who are very well aware and are, you know, on how to exploit the current ordinances, and money talks. And if you're willing to build a house, you can afford a few grand for some trees.
Yeah.
But so.
I have another angle, which is somebody's taking those trees down. Those people do know what they should and should not be doing.
Yeah.
And yet there seems to be no consequence for contractors who are licensed providers to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And that's not okay.
Sure.
Those licenses need to be taken away. Those people need to be fined severely. That is not okay.
Thank you.
And they fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot.
Well,
The county's down to 8 people that are in the, they don't have the resources to allow counties.
Well, and licensing and county regulations are two different things. One is state L&I and the other one is PDS code enforcement. So, you know, you're talking about two different animals.
Right.
Thank you for your.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
We buy the golf course and make it into a big farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the county wants to invest that kind of money.
Yeah.
And we haven't.
Well, thank you very much for everybody coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
All formed of
Thank you very much.
water.
Thank you very much.